Hello and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky, and today we're going to be going through my entertainment bucket that I'll be taking down to our makeshift fallout shelter. If you are new here, I want to say a great big welcome. I'm really glad you found my little slice of the internet. And if you're not new, I want to say welcome back. Y'all, we have surpassed 1,000 subscribers. I am so excited and so overwhelmed. We are growing because of you. So don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And if you get something useful out of this video or any of my videos, please share them with a friend or a community that could benefit from a fear-free approach to emergency preparedness. So you might be thinking, what's an entertainment bucket? Well, just like you might have food buckets, clothing buckets, sanitation buckets or boxes full of different items that you would need in an emergency, you're gonna have to have one for entertainment. Now, I am in the process of turning the very back corner that's already kind of dug out in like a earth root celery chunk of my basement into a makeshift fallout shelter, and I'm taking you guys along as I do that. It's not a construction project, it's more of a what can someone who lives at home do, but I'm storing things downstairs that I might need if we only have 5 or 10 minutes to take cover. And one of the things, if we're stuck in this very tiny little room for 3 days or a week or longer, is we're gonna need something to keep us busy, because otherwise we will be arguing and grumpy, and nobody wants that. So I put together an emergency entertainment bucket. Now, all of our go bags, which we'll be taking downstairs, have playing cards, but I've put together something a little bit more comprehensive, and is something that you can take as an idea and build for yourself and your family's needs and interest. So here's what the actual bucket looks like. Yes, it is an old icing bucket that I got for free from the local Kroger a couple of, probably 2 years ago. I asked if they had any free buckets, and they had 3. And so this is one of them, and I haven't ever used it. So I'm taking this because it's not too big. I don't want to overwhelm the space, and I'm using this because it creates a watertight, or a mostly watertight, barrier to keep the stuff inside safe. Okay, so the first thing I have are some notebooks. I buy these when they're on sale at Walmart for 50 cents per notebook. I'm down to the 2 that my middle school boys didn't want. So these 2 will go in there, and these will allow us to journal, to jot down story ideas, to sketch. They will just be a really great, useful tool. Hopefully at least one of these will be a dedicated journal that all of the 4 writing participants, my spouse and my 2 older sons, will be able to write a journal in one of these and maybe use the other one as a sketchbook. We also have some Jenga blocks. Now, my daughters love to stack these up and knock them over or turn them into dominoes. We could also play Jenga. So these are kind of multi-purpose, and as you can tell, they get a little crafty, which could become something that we do if we're down there for a really long time. But these are kind of a nice all-purpose game and toy to have. Now, one of the things I don't have in here, because I want the boys to pick it out for themselves, is a bag of Legos. I want them to put together a Ziploc bag of Legos that they could use to build things. Now, it's not a large space, so they would have to be very mindful of what they bring, but I do plan on them bringing some Legos to play with. The toddlers are a little bit young, and while there are some large size Legos, we don't have a lot of those, and I don't want to buy anything. So the boys will be adding a bag of Legos to this kit. Next thing is some crayons. I do plan on adding some more, and again, another thing I'm going to be adding that I don't currently have is a fresh pack of colored pencils. The ones we have are in bad repair. So I'll be adding more crayons and more colored pencils, and this will be for the notebook and for a coloring book. And this coloring book is going to live in here so it doesn't get used before a potential emergency. If in a couple of months we don't need it, I'll use it. But for now, it's going to be a dedicated coloring book just for this bucket. Another thing I'm going to be grabbing, and I just forgot to grab it for this video, is an adult coloring book, which I have like 3 of. So we'll be sticking one of those in here as well. All right, so a lot of people are planning on using digital devices as a way to do entertainment. So having an iPad and downloading a couple of shows or movies that you want to watch or the kids want to watch, and I think that's great. The problem is you might run out of the ability to charge it, so you're going to need other things. I have a lot of books for our big people. And most of these, with the exception of the ones I'm getting ready to show you, most of these were things we're going to give away. So this is Mistborn, The Final Empire, Mistborn, The Well of Ascension, and then the final book, Mistborn, The Hero of Ages. I've read this one. As you can tell, it's a little battered up, but it's been years. These are quite large. As anybody who reads Brandon Sanderson, he's a fantasy and sci-fi author. This would take quite a chunk of time. My sons read also fantasy and sci-fi, and they like big chunky books. So because we're not reading these right now, they're a really good series that can keep you immersed, and at least 3 of the 4 adult readers would be interested. This is in my kit. Now, these are books we plan on keeping, but we're not planning on reading them right now, so they will be a good addition to the emergency entertainment kit. Because I probably will want something nice and cheesy, You'd Be Mine is the debut from Erin Hahn, and she's written, I think, 3 more books at this point. I got this on sale. I was going to donate it because I don't have a lot of time to sit and read, but I decided to keep it. This was in my giveaway box, but I decided to keep it and put it down here because I might want something a little bit lighter and fluffier than a big sci-fi action sprawling kind of book. So I have this in here for me. And then I have a biography of Caravaggio. My husband has been meaning to read this for at least 3 years, 2 to 3 years. So I figure this will be a great time if we're stuck down there and he wants to dive into a nice thick biography of a painter who may or may not have been a murderer as well. This would be a really good time to sit and dive into a book that he's been putting off. All right, finally in the book department, I have The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. Woof. These are the 2 of the Kingkiller Chronicles, the first 2 books. There is a novella that's out and theoretically a 3rd book that's coming. We'll see if it ever happens. Now, I was gonna give these away because I don't have time to read and because who knows when the 3rd one's coming out. So I didn't want to keep these on my shelves, but again, these were in my donate box, but I decided that since there was something I wanted to read and my sons were interested in reading, but they were just not the right time, if we're stuck in a basement for a week or more, it might be a great time to read these books. So these big chunky books, they're going in. All right, I've got some pens and other assorted writing utensils. I will be adding more pens, like I said, colored pencil. I also have writing pencils. I need to sharpen these and a sharpener. I probably will add a manual sharpener just in case, but we'll have assorted colored pencils, regular pencils, and pens so that we have plenty of stuff to write, sketch, draw with. Additionally, this won't fit in the bucket, but I do plan on bringing this downstairs and leaving it down there so that we have a nice big sketchbook so the girls could crayon or, color. One side is a little waxy, but the other side is not, so the boys could sketch. This will just offer us a little bit more variety of entertainment than just the coloring book. All right, the last 2 things that are in my bucket are Dos. So this is like Uno, but it's not quite the same, and Pig Flip. Now we had Uno, but I think the girls got into it and lost the cards. So these are 2 small card games. There's also a card game, Card Quirkle, that I have that was in here and isn't in here anymore. So I've got to go find that. But I plan on having 2 or 3 of these small card games. They don't take up a lot of space. Now we have a ton of board games. If you've ever seen images of my living room, we have like 2 shelves of just board games, including all the Catons, lots of Ticket to Ride. The problem though is we don't have a good space to set up a board game. Our basement space is not just floor. It has this weird like hip high dugout dirt spot. And while if we could be sure that the littles wouldn't get into it, you might be able to put a game board up, possibly. It'd be really hard. So an actual board game, a tabletop game, would be challenging. So I'm looking at card games. So like I said, we'll have these 2, probably Quirkle, and maybe 1 more that I will add into this bucket so that all we're doing is grabbing, the bucket and going. At the end of the day, you have to think about what your family is going to be entertained by. If you don't have a family of readers, then storing a ton of books might not be the wisest choice. You might be better to store more board games. Maybe go out and buy a special board game that you keep just in case. You might be folks who are really artistic, so maybe you want to store some paint and paintbrushes, though how you keep those clean might be a problem, and you don't want to release a bunch of toxic smells, so you have to think about that. You might want to store some cars or some Play-Doh or things like that, depending upon if you have kids, their age and their ability level and what soothes them. We definitely will make sure that we have some stuffed animals, although that's not really entertainment, but we'll make sure we have stuffed animals along with all of our blankets so that will all get stored together. But we want to make sure that there's a variety of things that can entertain folks for a while. Yes, we do plan on bringing our iPad, and we have a couple of shows and movies stored on it. But again, if we're down there for more than a week, it's likely that it's going to lose charge, and it will be hard for us to charge it. It would not be a priority for us to keep that charged over other more essential things like a communication device or like lights. As you are considering your own entertainment bucket, definitely think about where you're going to be storing it and where you're planning on sheltering in place, the tastes of your family, the ability levels of your family, what you have, and whether or not you're worried about water damage, heat damage, anything like that. For me, one of the reasons we are actually putting it in a bucket like this is because it's my basement, and my basement has flooded twice. Now, theoretically, it's not supposed to do that again. They put in some safety valves, but just in case, I want it all to fit in something that will keep it safe. I also don't want anything that's really meaningful to us to be down there where we can't access it because it's down there, it's down in the basement, or where it could get damaged. Now, this is something that's great to have and to have it in storage and it's ready to go. But if we know that we have, let's say 20 or 30 minutes, we could easily grab a couple of board games, right? We could easily grab a bunch of things and take it with us if we have the time. So we live more than 100 miles from any major blast zone. There is nothing of strategic importance near us. So the likelihood of us being even, like I said, 100 miles from, 50 miles from a blast is very, very low. Because of that, I'm not worried about this being everything we could ever want for 3 weeks, oh my gosh, because we likely would have a few minutes to grab things as we needed it. But even if we didn't, even if we just had the games, the books, the coloring stuff, I think we'd be all right. The biggest challenge actually would be my toddlers and keeping them entertained. They would really struggle being confined for that long. That would be hard. But other than what do you do with toddlers who want to run around and there's literally nowhere to run around, we would have to figure out how to make that work. So that's just a challenge that's not going to be solved by any kind of entertainment that I can stick in a bucket. Again, we'll have some digital media, we'll have some crayons and things. Friends, comment down below and let me know what you're going to be keeping in your emergency bucket. What are you going to be storing in your makeshift fallout shelter or with your potential go bags or evacuation kits to make sure that if you are having to shelter in a pretty limited area, you won't absolutely go stir crazy. I'd love to see your thoughts and ideas. And don't forget that you can come in and hang out with me over on Instagram or join our group down in Facebook. It is a wonderful and supportive group where we're talking about different ways that we can stay prepared and being encouragements, fear-free encouragements, so that we can make progress without all of the anxiety. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're not being overwhelmed by anxiety. This should be a fun project that you can get done pretty quickly. Remember, don't spend a lot of money. Take what you have around the house, put it all in a bucket, or if you don't have a bucket, put in a bunch of Ziploc bags and stick it in a laundry basket. You can do all kinds of things to keep yourself entertained, calm, and confident in any crisis. Friends, until the next video, happy prepping.